We are seeing new racial and ethnic diversity in rural America, which may be the most important but also the least anticipated population shift in recent demographic history. Ethno-racial change will be at the heart of virtually every aspect of rural American life over the foreseeable future. This change will affect such areas as agro-food systems, community life, labor force change, economic development, schools and schooling, demographic change, intergroup relations, and politics. Immigration and the new ethno-racial diversity will be at the leading edge of major changes in rural community life as the nation moves towards becoming a majority-minority society by 2042. The Hispanic population faces specific issues and impediments to assimilation, and this, of course, will affect their acceptance into rural and small-town community life. It is also very important to understand the concerns regarding what is considered to be America's decline in community in our rural areas, and how this nation's growing Hispanic population, oftentimes immigrants, are abating this problem. While many of our rural areas' younger residents are leaving the country for the more plentiful jobs that are available in the city and suburban communities, Hispanic and Latino immigrants make the move to those areas to fill often low-paying and less than desirable jobs. Changing demographics are also evident when one considers that until recently, the Hispanic population has been heavily concentrated in the Southwest, California and Texas, as well as a few other major metropolitan gateways, such as New York City, Chicago, and Miami. Thus, until recently, immigration was more of a regional rather than a national issue for debate. In fact, just 3 states, California, Texas, and New York, were home to more than half the U.S. Hispanic population. Immigrant-receiving gateway communities have developed elaborate support networks, a set of local accommodations and understandings that provide new immigrants with the institutional resources, things like legal aid services or housing, or information about where to find jobs. Recently arrived immigrants need to adjust to their new environments and succeed. So the residents in gateway communities, both from minority and majority populations, were accustomed to interacting on an everyday basis with newcomers who may have different languages or unfamiliar customs. This has all changed with the geographic spread of Hispanics to other parts of the United States. The national debate has heated up as Hispanics in new destinations upset the status quo in many states and localities, while raising the concern of new ethnic tensions, job displacement of longtime workers, especially those with low skills, and new political alliances and cleavages among different groups. Hispanic growth and diversity have occurred in places where employment is linked to a few clearly defined industries as well. For example, some communities in the Midwest and Southeast with meat processing or meat packing plants represent geographic hotspots for Hispanic growth. Hispanics are willing to do the dirty work that native workers often avoid. Hispanic growth is linked directly to rural industrial restructuring, especially in non-durable manufacturing, which includes food processing, and more generally to a rapid globalizing agro-food system. Until recently, rural majority-minority places were located overwhelmingly in the southern Black Belt. So while rural majority-minority places remain concentrated in the Black Belt, recent data also indicate that the regional distribution of majority-minority places have become considerably more dispersed. Newly emerging majority-minority rural places, those having minority populations of 50% or more, are concentrated on the West Coast and along the eastern seaboard. They are also newly scattered throughout the Midwestern states, a pattern that's consistent with the concentration of Hispanics working in small towns with large meat processing plants. They also suggest the emergence of new ethnic enclaves, or worse, ghettos, in rural America that both accommodate newcomers and reinforce cultural expressions of Hispanicity, things like language, which slow down the process of incorporation into local life or assimilation. There's a model that's called the spatial assimilation model, which suggests that immigrants become integrated residentially with natives as they become economically assimilated. Economic incorporation expands housing and neighborhood options, while in turn promoting additional opportunities for upward mobility. In the Hispanic case, however, the work available in rural labor markets typically comprises low-wage, low-skill jobs. These jobs have attracted recent Hispanic immigrants who tend to be the least educated and have the most language and cultural barriers and are more likely to be unauthorized immigrants. The work is often hard, dirty, and dangerous. Jobs in agriculture, meatpacking plants, and construction, which white native-born workers find unattractive. The new rural immigration of Hispanics has also followed the growth of the low-wage jobs in oil, timber, furniture, carpeting, textiles, and other non-durable manufacturing. As a context for immigrant reception, rural labor markets seemingly provide few opportunities for upward intragenerational or intergenerational mobility. We know that American demographics are changing, that our rural communities are losing many of the younger generation who seek better work opportunities in urban and suburban communities. We also know that the fastest growing group of individuals in America is the Hispanic population, which actually outnumbers whites in certain areas of the United States. This shift in population establishes that our most rapidly changing demographic lies within our rural communities, which are often some of our least diverse communities. Thus, these areas face specific challenges to assimilate and acculturate the population. The main point that I wanted you to understand in this section is that we have a changing U.S. demographic. Not only are racial categories shifting, but different groups are moving into areas which historically have had very little diversity. It's important to think about the challenges that our communities are going to face as these demographics change over the next several decades.